one that sort of keeps people like me up at night, is that the whole Web 2.0 thing is kind of a mystery, right? Nobody really knows what the principles are that allow, some sites, like Facebook, right, to completely explode, and some other sites, like Orkut, not to. It doesn't seem to be related to the kind of investment that's in them. And so nobody really knows what the principles are to get great traction, and so that means that, that worry sort of spills over now into semantic web. Well, if we add semantics into there, does that change this fundamental uncertainty or not? So let me start here with semantics without the semantic web in this area, because there certainly has been a lot of it. I mean, Web 2.0 is really about, this is a design meme or a design pattern. It's really about sharing meaning, right? It's all particularly human related. And so there's a whole bunch of different ways to do it. Tags, group wikis, people calling each other up or looking through documentation about REST and SOAP and what the right parameter sequencing and marshalling is, and so forth. And my favorite example was out of GeoCommons a while ago. It's probably not there anymore. I haven't looked in a while. But it was this wonderful mashup for the hippest places to live in San Francisco. I used to live in the Bay Area, so I'm sort of concerned about this. Turns out I didn't live anywhere near a hip place. But it was, so let's just look at the neighborhood boundaries. And first you want to know what the neighborhoods are. The crime index, you don't want the place to be too safe. You don't want it to be, too sleazy. Home median age. You probably don't want it to be all full of stuff that was built a year ago. And let's scrape off the ratings and locations of bars and clubs in San Francisco, because you want a fair number of highly rated establishments like that around you. We don't want the occupation to be people who are around you to be, Defense Department dweebs like me. There probably should be, what they call the creative class, right? Techies and artists and stuff like that. People who, dress pretty neat. And finally, the other thing which I threw in there was female motorcycle ridership, which I always thought was just the plus there. And it turns out that you get these heat maps, and you look at it and you go, yeah, that's probably right. Okay, so you don't need the semantic web to do semantics on the social web. None of that was done with explicit semantic agreement. It was all done with people talking to other people and looking up documentation. So that brings up this question about, well, what can the semantic web contribute technically to Web 2.0, right? And when you get right down to it, it's just a couple of different things. So number one, it's representations for simple fragments of meaning, right? So that means things like located in for geography and contains for geography or inverses of each other. That means that gender is male or female, I guess. In San Francisco, I guess it could be different. But but there's a small finite number of these, right? And that's the key. And we can argue about what the right number is, but there's a finite number, and the semantic web can tell you what that particular agreement is between the two people who use the semantics. There are type inheritance, right? That is the standard thing that DLs are giving you, the description logics are giving you. Pizzerias are kind of restaurants. Classification rules, and encodings of all that preceding stuff using a web-friendly language. So that means we expect that operationally, if you have all this, you should be able to have higher quality query expansion. Right? You should be able to have drag and drop mashups, though no one's really quite got that one yet. And what I think more interestingly is you should start being able to get to long-tail question answering. The thing about long-tail is, it's the one that nobody wanted. The short-tail has already been done, right? So there's a lot of great sites out there for real estate and music and finance and whatnot. But the long-tail stuff, the kind of stuff that Wolfram Alpha gets to, and the kind of stuff that you can get to on the semantic web if you blend it in the Web 2.0 world, you can actually start getting that quality of analytics and the kinds of things which it didn't look like it made economic sense to do. So the semantic web looks like it matches up pretty well to the use cases. The problem is that really the second bullet there, which is that semantic authoring, right, turns out not to be as easy. It's just hard to get people who are used to writing in text, who've known text ever since they were a little toddler, right, in order to be able to author things in triples or some kind of functionally or logically equivalent representation for triples. So that means that there are these real-time market issues for people who actually use semantics. They have to create zero training, easy to implement, user-tolerant systems that actually still provide these kinds of agreements that are so important. And they have to deal with the fact that there's not much user incentive to provide semantic markup. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple of answers right now to this. One answer, and I'll completely going